All right, Counselor Albert,
Here.
Counselor Kobe,
Here.
Counselor LaRochelle.
Here.
Counselor Ward,
Here.
Counselor Lunt.
Here.
I don't see Fellows or Ganong yet. And we have the school department, Tracy Austin.
She's here.
Yeah,
Kelly Rogers,
he will join us throughout the thing. He just was gonna be late.
Kelly Rogers, Ross Cunningham, Kim Labby, Hassan, Kathy Jurgen, Rick Green, Haley McCrader. And for the finance committee, Jesse Balzac,
Here.
Heather Ward,
Here.
Noli Lopez,
Here.
Curtis Lunt,
Here.
Dan Lehman,
Here.
and Kayla Tierney, finance director.
Here.
We have
And
Counselor.
Jeff Ganong.
We have, yes.
Here.
All right.
All right, Mr. Albert, Pledge of Allegiance. Go ahead and you can start us, dude. We're using Diane's flag in the lower upper right-hand corner. All right. Pledge allegiance.
To the
to
flag
the flag
of the United States of America,
and to the
to
republic,
the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
With liberty,
with liberty,
justice for all.
Thank you, guys. All right, Diane, why don't you start with update since our last meeting, please?
Okay, do you want us to share a screen to follow
yeah.
along?
Whichever's easiest.
Okay, we're going to start with the commitment comparison because that kind of shows everything that's done to date. So since our last budget meeting, I've added 1,000 to the budget, and that went under other public services Memorial Day. And the $1,000 is to provide for replacement and upgrades of the flags that we are hanging along Route 196 and 125. So that's what I did with that. So that's, right now the budget increase is $252,571. And that's about a 2.8% increase over last year. The other change I made was to the revenue sharing. Originally, back in March, the revenue projections for revenue sharing for Lisbon was 1.7 million. They've changed that as of Friday. They changed it down to 1,350,000. And the reason for that is when the budget went through, the governor's biennial budget, it was approved with the revenue sharing being at 3.75%. Subsequent to that budget passing, the legislature has passed an LD to increase the revenue sharing for municipalities to 5%. But that has not been enacted into law, so they had to revert it back down to the 3.75%. I don't know if and when it's going to be enacted into law, but if it does, then they will revise their projections again. And I'll keep watch of it until we do our commitment. But right now it's 1,350,000, which is 550,000 more than our current estimation in the current budget. My other revenues, and this is mainly due to the excise tax, I'm projecting $2,708,331, which is approximately $115,472 more than the current budget. I'm going to keep watching that before year end, because as we get closer to June 22nd, if my revenues keep going up, I might be able to increase that a little more. So right now, the municipal budget, county budget, and school share is up $519,541 collectively, all three together. And my revenues, with the increase in revenue sharing and my other revenues, which is $665,472. So right now, my revenues exceed my budget increase by about $145,931. which if everything else remains the same, that would be a reduction of about 22 cents in the mill rate. So those really are the changes, the revenue sharing and that one item in the budget that I increased.
Thank you. Anything else?
I don't think there was, and I'm just looking at your list here to see if there's anything else.
No, I think it was just the
Yep.
overview, and I think you hit everything.
Yep.
From here, I'd like to turn it over to the Finance Committee Chair. I know you guys met last night, so whatever you would offer for the municipal and school budgets, allow you guys to be able to read that into the record for public as well.
Thank you. So last evening, the Finance Committee met and they approved, a motion to approve the recommendation of $9,979,076 in projected municipal budget, which also did include that extra $1,000 that Diane spoke of. The amendment to the budget made by Dan Lehman and then approved the recommendation of the $9,979,076. We did also recognize that 2 members from the Finance Committee were also committee members of the Planning Board. Just to note that for the public. We voted unanimous 4-0. We had 1 committee member absent for that. And then the Finance Committee motion to accept the recommended wastewater treatment plant expense budget of $1.263,887. And that also was approved unanimously 4-0 with 1 committee member absent. The Finance Committee also approved the revenue budget of $4,078,331. Also recognizing the change in the sharing, the state revenue sharing amount that Diane spoke about. That passed as well with a vote of 4-0. The motion to approve the recommended $1.4,042,072 revenue budget for the wastewater treatment plant also was approved by the committee, the vote of 4-0. And then lastly, the committee approved 4-0 the school warrant articles, articles 1 through 7 as well. The only other thing that we'd want to just highlight is that with the school budget, just acknowledging that this year's budget does include the use of the American Recovery Funds, which is a one-time fund that can be used over the next 2 years.
Thank you. Anything else for the record that you guys might have for observations, having gone through this process as a committee for the first time this year?
No, not at this time.
Anybody else on the committee have anything, having gone through the experience? If not, I thank you guys for doing so. I find it very beneficial that it isn't relying on 7 people's best judgment in volunteer positions to be able to look through that, to be able to leverage you guys. Thank you. 2 most underused words in the American language, so I appreciate your efforts associated with that. Thanks a lot. That said, where are we in the agenda, Diane? Probably we want to move towards the parking lot list of items that you had. You're on mute, Diane.
Thank you. Finalize budget items and revenues.
Kayla, do you have that list? Could you bring it up on the screen just briefly?
What would you like? Would you like the parking lot items?
Yes,
Yes.
please.
Well, we've been through the, is there any benefit, Diane or Kayla, to actually go through the highlights of the budget for where it began to now? I don't see it because we've seen it every meeting, and I just
Right.
move forward. You hit us with the one change from our last meeting. We're at the 2.8, so anybody wants to revisit it, we can, but I just prefer to keep the things moving along if we could. Hearing none,
Right.
Kayla, yeah, just the parking lot then.
Sorry, sharing my screen.
No, you're doing fine. Sometimes it's a pain to find them. If anybody's looking at the list compared to what Diane sent out on Friday, I thought I heard originally our first night, the employee recognition 5,000 that we put out there for a placeholder, just making sure that everybody's good with that. So I asked that to be added to this list just for discussion. The going down through it, you have the administrative assistant reclassification to HR director. You have the amount for legal, 40,000, which is the same as last year. We have the $23,000 for the HRA as a placeholder. It's my understanding from Diane is that number is increased from where we were at. So I think that's kind of a scratch. It was just a placeholder when we were looking at it then. The $10,000 for the abatement. If you look at the budget content, Diane has removed it. So that's off. The next item on there is the 30,000 for the fire department study. We talked about it actually potentially being funded through fund balance. Is that on your fund balance list, Diane?
Yes, it's on the list.
Okay, so it's currently placed there, so it's been removed from the municipal budget. The next item would be the 2 police department adjustments for the 8th police officer and benefits and the position that was cut last year from the police department for the additional item. The fire amount is the discussion that we approve for the minimum manning. Currently in the recommendation, chief was advocating for per diem. I know there's a couple of different alternatives that were being discussed on that. If I were to weigh in on that, in my personal opinion, I would almost like to see a full-time firefighter where somebody that's actually got invested interest in this community rather than per diems, but that's just me. Next would be the 2 positions that were from last year's budget coming back, reorganized, if you will. Basically restructuring the operations manager with the driver and the reinstatement of the mechanics position. You have the planning board, $5,000 for the economic development directors, reclassification for the planning services that he's performing. And is that the last item on the list, Kayla? The last one is we spoke at our last meeting looking for a contractor outside to actually give us an assessment of our facilities, to give an assessment to make sure that we've hit all the highlights. This year it was a flavor associated with electrical and generator upgrades. Just give us a clean bill of health. Diane's reached out to the contractor that we are working with for clerk of the works responsibilities, and as soon as she has a number, she'll get it back to us. On the topics that are actually here that I just highlighted, does anybody have any consideration for action on any of those items?
Chair,
Yes, please.
I know it's been talked about before, but the economic, I mean, I still don't feel that 5,000 is proper place coming from the planning boards. I think there's been a mention at some level that if there was some type of change there, that would come from a tip that kind of balances off some of the expenses in that particular department. And some of the plannings, I think, were due more to the community events more so than the planning board. So that's just my opinion. I mean, there's a couple others I'm sure we'll weigh in on, but that's the one being the bottom of the list still looking at me. So I figured I'd put that out there.
The one that actually, my take on that, Fern, I would advocate that we actually remove it from the planning board budget and put it in the economic development department budget. It actually moves it from the funded through taxation to funded through the TIF like the rest of the position. I think if it's economic development director activities, it's better placed there rather than within a specific committee, in my opinion. I'd make that motion. Does anybody have a second to that?
If I may, I would just add to that, I would like to see the 5,000 left in there to keep that 10,000 as a placeholder for potential other subcontractor services. So I don't think I'd remove the 5,000. I guess my point would be is to, as you mentioned, take the do the increase in that economic office through TIF, but actually leave the 5,000, put it back into the planning board as it's been in years past. I realize we didn't spend it last year, and if we just want to balance that off, so it's an even number, I mean, but I guess I don't want to take away and just not place it back if that's money we're using to balance that number.
So Fern, if I'm hearing you correctly, you would advocate that it would be there. I would say it not keeping it on that line. If you're suggesting that, I would advocate that it go back to the contracted professional services as $5,000 increase. Is that what you would
We
add?
didn't spend the 10,000 from last year, so I wasn't sure
Yep.
where that actually laid. I mean, I think we need to keep at least 10,000 in reserve.
Right.
So if we that 10,000 there, maybe this 5,000 isn't needed, but again, that's
Okay. Diane, question I have there is, I believe at the last meeting, we asked that that be encumbered. If it hasn't been utilized, that would come in at year end, correct?
I would do that as a carry forward at year end.
And that is your intention at this time? right?
Yes, yes, it is.
Is there anything that the planning board has on the immediate horizon that has a need for professional services, Kurt? He's not on my screen.
Sorry. I don't see anything immediate, but I suspect we've been picking up in business lately, so I do expect we'll need to do things, and we do need to have the ability to go out and hire a consultant short
Right.
notice. So I think it's just a contingency.
Okay. So and I think we talked at the last workshop that was with planning board that 10,000 would be adequate for the immediate need for the coming year. Is that the case?
Yes.
Okay. Does that suit what you were looking for, Fern? So if we have that piece, we would need this additional 5?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we're left with adequate funds and actually just the biggest point is taking the 5,000 from a place and putting it where it actually belongs, I think. So, I mean, for the economic department.
Anybody else have any of these specific items that looking for action on?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, please, Jeff.
so is the assumption that the way these are written out, they're already in the budget. So like this is how they're written out here is what if we pass the budget is currently how it's gonna go.
Go back to the top of the list for me, Kayla, just so I can. Yes, there's a $5,000 placeholder in the employee recognition that we advocated because of one of our goals there. The way that it's approached is if it doesn't actually get used all in this, it would be encumbered for future years as well. Going down through it, the 9,500 is the increase for that specific position. The legal is the $40,000 item. The HRA is the $23,000 increase. Abatement, that actually should be a negative because Diane has already removed that from the abatement line out of our budget. Same with the fire study. That should also be a negative because that has been removed from it's removed from the budget, but funded through fund balance. The others are pluses. We get down to the economic development director. That would be, after this action, moving it from the planning board budget to the economic development division. It would actually be a minus 5,000 on taxation, Jeff. That answer your question, sir?
Yes, and I guess going back to the original question, is there anything that you don't want to raise concerns about? The fire department one, about the 3 additional per diem staff. The more I've thought about that since the chief's original presentation, the more I'm skeptical of whether or not that's a good value add for our budget in our town.
In general, with minimum manning or per diem at all? Where are you trying to lead with that, Jeff?
Just more in the terms of the structure fires in general just are not a big part of their workload as much. I mean, he mentioned the fact that calls were up and the uses of the departments was up, but in terms of the actual structure fire part of their job, that part has gone down, in our town and also just nationwide. So I'm really skeptical of the idea of having per diem staff or even bringing on a full-time staff.
Okay, that's what I need to hear. You said it both in that regard. Is what you're expressing is where the last time it came up 2 budget cycles ago, council felt at that point in time it was not the time to actually bring in any sort of minimum manning. So you're advocating that the fact that, again, this time would not be the year to actually add minimum manning. Is there somebody else that would, is that a form of a motion, Jeff?
Yeah, I would actually make that motion.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay.
Discussion?
I want to object first that we have a motion that was already on the floor that hadn't been voted on.
What was the motion? I apologize.
About moving the economic development
Thank you.
director position that hadn't been finished off.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's take the action. Absolutely. We have a first and a second to move the 5,000 from planning board to economic development. Is there any other discussion on that specific item before I move?
Yes, Chair, may I?
Yep.
I guess the question is more to Diane. Is there anything that needs to be done in this budget discussion to actually allow for more TIFs to be used to offset that? I mean, is that or for a later vote at a different meeting?
No, what we do is whatever's in the economic development budget, that's what we put as an offsetting revenue from the TIF funds. So by doing what you're doing tonight, moving that to the economic development, that's going to increase my revenues by 5,000 and decrease my expenses by 5,000.
There's a push.
Basically washed in what you're saying, basically that department.
Yeah.
Any other questions on that topic?
So
Well,
Alan,
yep.
can I interrupt? So what was your motion, Alan?
The motion is to move the 5,000 for non-wages and 5,104 out of the planning board division and into the Economic Development Director division.
Okay, and who has the second to that first motion?
That was Fern,
Fern, okay. So I'm gonna do a roll call.
please.
All right, Counselor Albert,
No.
Counselor LaRochelle? Yes.
One more time, Fern.
Sorry, a little delay there. Yes.
Yes. Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Ganong,
Yes.
Counselor Colby,
Yes.
Counselor Fellows.
Still not here.
Okay. So order passed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1.
Okay, so the next order, the next motion that's on the table is the elimination of the allowance 89,255.21 for per diem staff from Counselor Ganong, and the second was
Cassie.
Cassie.
Cassie?
Thank you, Cassie. Any other
Make
discussion
it.
on that item?
Yes, if I could, Chair.
Yep.
I mean, this is something that we've been kind of kicking down the road a little bit. You know, I don't think it totally should be removed from the budget because it's actually a needed item. At what manner we address it, I guess could be discussed at a later point. But I would actually encourage the council to vote down this this motion, just because not doing anything doesn't fix the problem. And there's many times during the week that I hear calls go out and there's actually not enough staff to actually call to actually run. And all it takes is one structure fire. I mean, I don't care if we have 50 in the year, but all it takes is one that we don't have personnel and we actually have a bad situation go worse, that this money would be shortchanged in the long run if it actually solves a problem like that. Whether or not it needs to be per diem, which I have a concern about also, or the idea of actually bringing on another full-time personnel or whatever, however we come up with it. I don't like making policy changes during budget seasons. I don't think that's a proper time. I think we need a lot more thought and process. I would actually like to actually at least earmark this money put aside and as a placeholder for this year for us to actually resolve this problem in some manner. Not to do anything is, I think, is kind of reckless when the people we hired actually for positions coming forward to us and telling us that they can't man the truck. For us not to actually take any action on that, I think is actually not listening to the people we hire. I do agree that there are some concerns about the way it's actually addressed at this point. So, you know, with Jeff's idea, I think there are some questions out there that need to be answered. I wouldn't actually just vote on this saying straightforward, do it tomorrow, but I think we need to leave something in the budget. And this dollar value isn't out of the reach to actually make sure we address it. If we're talking that we're going to reduce taxes this year because we have an abundance of money, supposedly, I guess, the idea of not be able to do our fire protection adequately in town, I think is not doing a service. But again, just my opinion.
Lisa, can you let Dawn into the meeting, please?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Thank you. Anybody else on this topic?
Yes,
I just-
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Sorry.
Go ahead, Diane. Diane, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that when we put this together, it was really to cover the daytime hours when we don't have enough staff and people are out working other jobs. And lots of times we only have one person that will respond to a call. And that's really what it is to cover the busiest time of the day, which happens to be the daytime. And it is an issue and it's an ongoing issue, and it's not going to correct itself because nationwide people are not coming into the fire service. All the different fire departments have the same issue. And maybe the per diem isn't the answer. Maybe it should be a full-time police officer, firefighter, then you have the continuity. So I think it's needed because of the response to the calls that we have during the daytime hours.
Norman?
Thank you. So I would concur with a few of the folks who have already chimed in with my suggestion or proposal would be, I cannot support in good faith a per diem proposal as it sits. I would be in favor of hiring a full-time firefighter to cover that time frame that Diane pointed out was the pain point right now. I know that's, the chief has suggested this as opposed to that, but I'm sure that we have to come up with different strategies, and I can't see how a per diem strategy is going to be successful. It feels like we're throwing money away at that, and I don't think we're going to get any different result. At least with a full-time firefighter with some skin in the game, someone who's going to be, hired to be here and not decide whether or not they want to show up based off that per diem salary if they want to or not. So I guess it's where I stand on that. I think it makes the most sense for right now. I'm sure Chief would have a lot more to say about that as well, but that's where I'm going to land. I won't vote in favor of this if it stays as per diem. I'll vote against.
Right now, the motion on the table is to cut, just to be clear on
Yep.
clarification. So
Yep.
it's the voting no keeps it in to be able to have the discussion for whatever ultimately comes out of that allocation. Okay? Anybody else? Any other counselors on this topic, Finance Committee? Hearing none, let's go through the roll call.
Counselor Albert,
No.
Counselor LaRochelle,
No,
Counselor Ward,
No.
Counselor Ganong,
Yes.
Counselor Kobe,
Yes.
Counselor Fellows,
I'm going to set this one out. I'm not sure what I'm voting on.
Don, I can clarify it for you. The motion that was made is to cut the allocation for the per diems from the fire budget. A vote no actually would keep it in the budget. A vote yes would actually cut the allocation.
No.
Is that everybody?
So Tweller, I'm going to need some clarification on this.
So your vote is 4 and it is 1 and it.
You missed me.
You did.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking that we were missing 1.
Counselor Lunt,
I'll vote no.
Okay, so it's 5 to 1, yeah, 2 yes, 5 to 2.
yes.
Motion
All right,
failed.
so it did pass, so it's not being removed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion topics for those that are listed?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
do we have to make some type of formal motion to actually allocate that money, but actually not have it directly for the per diem for just an ongoing discussion, or is that just left as is and for a workshop? Or
You actually give Fire and Diane where council lands on that, I would entertain one, by all means.
I make a motion that we actually do allocate the money as presented in the budget. Because it does have it is an estimated amount for potentially what the chief wanted. But not to be used as per diem at this point, but to actually have further discussion to see where we land, what would be the best for the community.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion on that item? Hearing none, let's go roll call on that one.
Counselor Albert,
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Ganong,
Yes.
Counselor Kobe,
Yes.
Counselor Fellows.
Yes.
Order passed 7-0.
Again, any other these items here? Then we accept the Finance Committee's recommendation as presented with the exceptions that we made for the minor changes that we made tonight. If you would mind hearing me out, after our last business meeting or during the meeting, discussion associated with something that I brought before the council a couple of years ago for banners and flags in our community. I believe personally that we can do more in our corridors to actually improve our images. I would like to request a allocation either through fund balance or TIF, which are both allowable expenses for this, to revisit the topic. And if you bear with me, it's a little bit difficult on Zoom. This is the first one you guys saw. It's a 5-foot by 2-foot banner in the form of veterans, which was the original intent 2 years ago, to be able to fundraise to do so. Cassie and I spent a good part of 6 months actually working with the American Legion. They were interested, but trying to be able to get a commitment out of them in that period of time never really came to fruition. And then COVID hit. And short version, at this point, I'm not in the position of asking anybody for financial donations to be able to pursue that, not knowing what anybody's personal finances are. You can either pursue that original vision or using our economic development director's presentation for signage that he put together with the idea of the Powered by Moxie logo. This is just for discussion purposes. I took the liberty of somebody that I have for a friend that actually does that kind of work. Just for discussion, you could go with that vision to try to start moving us towards a branding to be able to unify that. That scheme is in the black and orange lettering that we saw that was similar on the signage. I believe that would go a huge way in the immediate area around 196 down there, Rusty Lantern, where we have the brackets. And I believe they would also have direct benefit in the Village Street area. And if we went with the flags or similar, there are brackets for those as well along the 196 corridor. I think that it would be something that would actually be very much improvement in what we actually have currently. I
Mr.
would
Chair,
make that, yes.
are you making a motion or would you like me to?
I'll make the motion if somebody would second it. If not, it's a dead issue.
We'll make the motion so somebody can.
I'd make the motion that we allocate $5,000 either from fund balance or TIF. Diane will tell us which she prefers, and fund banners and flags within our corridors.
I'll second it.
I think from
Anybody-
TIF would be better, Alan, at this point. Take it right from the TIF funds.
And it's completely within the wheelhouse because it's no different than trash cans and benches and that kind of stuff that we have in that, guys. And give you an estimate, I believe, I'm not sure if it's one-sided or two-sided, but that size banner that I just showed you, being 5 foot by 2 foot, is somewhere between $100 and $200. They go a long ways, and they are set up to be weather resistant, properly installed. In that regard, Lewiston's doing it. If you haven't seen them along the Memorial Bridge and some of the other corridors, they look cool. So, any other questions, concerns?
Mr. Chair, I would, if you want to modify your original motion, I'd second that also to say the money comes from a TIF fund specifically.
I absolutely, Don. Absolutely. I would accept that.
Okay.
No other discussion, we can call the roll.
Counselor Albert,
Yes.
Counselor Rochelle,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Ganong,
Yes.
Counselor Kobe,
Yes.
Counselor Fellows.
Yes.
Order passed 7-0.
Thank you. If there's no other action on budget, Kayla, you can bring down your screen and bring up the fund balance. While she's doing that, guys, I will tell you, I'm not tied to anything that you just saw. It was just a talking point. I would envision that when that allocation comes through, I was landing specifically within fund balance and or TIF, and we landed on TIF specifically to try to do that sooner than later. So I do not like to see this actually happen in the July timeframe if we can get them up sooner associated with that. So that said, Brett has funds and he's already laid the seed for what we have for that kind of branding. It completely within the wheelhouse. I would like that maybe to land with LDC. Does that make sense, Fern or Don?
I was going to suggest that it come with LDC and economic development, come up with a fine theme and spread it out. Get it done.
Now the only thing I would offer on that, Don, what passes on a sign or a street sign is much different than how it would look on a banner. So you want somebody that's got experience specifically in designing banners for that kind of part, because the education that I had in the last 2 days on that is the guy that I work with that has the experiences. That's what he's doing, is a lot of that kind of setup. So just look at what it's going to be when it's 5 feet tall.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Fund balance. Diane, can you highlight specifically where we were at to what is in fund balance now minus the salt shed? We'll take that as a separate item if we could.
I'll have to go get another. I've got just the new sheet up here.
Okay, that's fine. Just basically,
yeah.
What I don't want there would be there's a $375,000 addition with the salt shed for consideration. We need to address that specifically because it hasn't been authorized to be put on here. So that's just highlight that.
So this new projection, the new sheet that's in front of you, can you go back up to the top, Kayla, please? So assuming that we do get that salt shed for $375,000, I had to rework this unassigned fund balance spreadsheet. So right now we're leaving 12% in unassigned fund balance per our policy. I also had to add the fiscal year 21 overlay and the Falmouth funds that we received for the officer that we trained through the academy and went to work for Falmouth. I had to add those to the unassigned fund balance to get us to the amount to cover that additional expense for the salt shed. So if you go down further now, Kayla, you can see that everything that's on my list comes to, let's see. $1 million remaining funds after the fiscal year. Okay, so $1,220,723.80. And then the amount to designate is $1,190,000. So that's what my total is for the unassigned fund balance, which is going to leave a small balance of $30,000 that we can still allocate if we want to. And the main thing is I added the salt shed. And then I took the, what Alan just talked about for the flags, I put that out of the TIF, and also the signs for the rec department we talked about earlier for the trails. That's another expense that can come out of TIF because TIF is set up to do enhancements to our trail system as well. So I moved that to TIF. So there's like 10,000 now coming out of the TIFs. One you just voted on, and the next one will get you to vote on at another time.
And that specifically is Mark's 5,000 signage.
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
And we're all.
Dan, while we're on the sorry, Dan, while we're on the subject of trails, I know we discussed this. I saw you mention an email, and I'd like to get some confirmation of that the signs that Mark Stevens was talking about were specifically the wooden ones that would be at the trailhead. But what I'm really advocating for is that we have something directing people from 196 to where the parking area is. Would you include that in that?
Yes.
I think that's very important. We have a $2 million trail, and we've not spent the money to advertise it at all.
Diane, for the benefit of the listening audience that may be seeing that, why don't you buzz down through the list of items that are on the fund balance list one more time? Just
Sure. So what we have on the list is in the town clerk's department, the clerk book restoration for 13,750. We have the server and hardware upgrades here for the town office at 35,800. And there's some other incidental one-time expenses like firewalls that we have to upgrade. We have the cruiser laptops for 32,000. We have 15,000 for the Lisbon Fire Department generator, 15,000 for the E.T. Smith generator, 26,780 for the Lisbon Fire Department boiler, 14,000 for the Lisbon Fire Department electrical, 17,200 for two heating and cooling pumps at the library, 61,000 for the repitch of the transfer station roof, 40,000 for the public works generator, 6,000 for town office lighting out front here, 14,000 for bulletproof vests, 13,500 for portable radios, 30,000 for the fire station case study, 35,000 for forklift, 40,000 for two streetlight cameras, and that'll get the rest of our the streetlight cameras at the intersections down at Capitol Avenue and at the high school, and then they will all have the same type of camera. We'll be done upgrading our camera system. 8,000 for the recreation mower, 8,000 for a used snowmobile, 10,000 for the Miller trail fence repair, and then 5,000 to go towards the replacement of the 2002 wreck truck. We do have 15,000 from an insurance check to go towards that as well. 20,000 to replace the 2003 wreck truck, 10,000 for bus rental or repair. We think we're going to be able to repair that now. That's just a placeholder at 10,000. I think it'll probably come in less. 10,000, oh, the tax abatement, that even shouldn't even be in there. I'm going to pull that out. I'm sorry about that. I think that can come from overlay. So that'll reduce it a little bit. 3,000 for hose replacement, 2,175 for equipment at the fire department, 15,000 for plow truck repairs at the public works, 12,000 for guardrails, 10,000 for sidewalks, 185,000 for an excavator, trailer, and plow truck, 375,000 for the salt shed, and then 3,500 to replace the file cabinets in the code enforcement office. And then we also have money to allocate into the capital reserve accounts, an additional 75,000 for in the fire reserve, and then to start a new reserve for a townwide revaluation at 30,000. And that's my list.
That's the sum of everything that we talked about with the exception of the salt shed, guys. Anything that's on that list that anybody's having issue with for consideration for removal?
Chair, may I?
Yes, Vern.
Actually, the list is fine, and I'm glad we actually put the, that's where the money sits for the bus repair. Question, wasn't there already money aside in that department for some repair of the bus, or is this actually the money that we actually allocated? I mean, to me, it's fine. I was just curious if there was, if that was 10,000 total, or I wasn't sure if the rec department already had funds for the repair of the bus. Guess that was a question we had. And then the second, go ahead, sorry.
The only place we would take it from would be from the revenue from the seniors program.
Fine. I mean, I'm happy where it's at.
Yeah.
The other question I had is, which I guess I should have asked earlier. So in the village, we're actually looking to finish Graziano Park. Do we actually have money allocated in this budget for the gazebo and the fencing and the other items we need to complete that? I mean,
No, we don't.
I would advocate strongly that we do. I mean, I know we made it a point as one of our goals to actually get that completed since we told people we were going to. So, I mean, I'm not sure exactly where that would be. I mean, I know that's a potential TIF option also, but I don't know if the dollar value that we have would be correct.
I don't know what the dollar value is that we need, but it is an eligible expense out of the TIF fund because we do have that listed Graziano Park.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Diane, my question is, why don't we have money budgeted to complete that project for this year?
Well, we had some money left out of the Route 196 Davis Street account, and I've been using that. We have a little bit left, and then when that's exhausted, then we're gonna have to get out. My intent was to come back to council once I know what the final number is gonna be and have it come out of the TIF funds.
And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, and I want to be clear
Yeah.
about that, because I know that can sound very contentious, and that's not what I'm trying to do here.
Yeah,
What I do want to understand is when I roll back to when we approved the project, we approved a dollar amount associated with that had that gazebo in that plan. I understand why there were some delays around this.
Right.
And I understood why last year we made some choices to delay the project for the greater good, because we did gain some benefit from that.
right.
But at the same time, as we roll into this year, I know that one of the challenges that we had was the sidewalks had to be redone. And it looks like that project is almost finished, if not finished, because I did a drive-by and they look pretty darn sharp from where I was looking this week.
Yeah,
But so I think that if we don't have that slated for completion, I mean, we're in the home stretch. There's not a whole lot left there to do. I believe if I'm the fencing and the gazebo, if I'm not wrong there, maybe striping the parking lot if there were stripes in that plan. It's been a while. I can't remember if there were stripes in that parking lot or not. But I do know this. I feel like that's money well spent.
yeah.
We need to complete that project up in Village, because there's no sense of, I mean, another business closed up there. I'm sure some of you or most of you know that gas station that's up there closed as well, the Getty, or whatever it went to after it was the Getty. I've always known it as the Getty. But so now, yeah, exactly. Now more than ever, we need to show the investment and the follow through on that spot. So I'm going to stop rambling on about it. And I'm going to definitely side with Fern on this and say we need to allocate resources and now to get that completed for this year. It's my take.
We're in the process of getting quotes to finish that. And what I was planning on doing is coming back to council to get approval to allocate that from the TIF account.
Diane?
I just don't know
Thank
what
you.
the final amount's gonna be, that's all.
Okay, thank you, Diane.
Father, Lisa, please let Rick into the meeting.
I'm sorry?
Can you let Rick into the meeting? Rick
Oh,
Green?
yes, I'm sorry. Not paying attention here.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Don.
I just had one brief question. I know that Fern had some concerns about fluctuating tax rates, up 1 year, down 1 year, and so forth. And his concern was, should we perhaps keep the budget more steady by putting something that is in, say, in the undesignated fund, coming out of that back into the budget? I don't know if it's been addressed. I just, I know that was brought up earlier, and I wanted to see
I read that as well too, Don. What I would counter is every time prior to the salt shed discussion in this consideration, I heard what was presented from you guys, and the items that are on this list are one-time expenses that wouldn't appear in a budget. So I think it's a good list for fund balance use for that point, because if it weren't that, I would be advocating still that the cruisers or other items that are actually acceptable items to minimize that increase from next year when we take it off the list this year. That said, Diane offered a take on that as well too. I got your email here, Diane. You want me to put that in? Or do you want to just cover it?
So can I just go back to Dawn's question? So the hose replacement and the equipment for the fire department, those are gonna be ongoing expenses from year after year. So if you wanted to take something off, that's what I would advocate for.
Okay.
It's about $5,175.
Don, is that a motion?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Ern?
I'd second that for a little more discussion.
Okay, thank you. Anything else that comes off that list, Diane, that's readily looking like
Um,
that?
I'm not sure about the guardrails because really that should be funded through, when people have accidents, we should be notified so that we can add that to their claim. And they reimburse us, but that's not what's been happening for whatever reason. So I think once we put the 12,000 in there, I don't think we're gonna have to raise any more. So I think that's good. Sidewalks, it all depends on how much Randy, I think 20,000 was gonna get us to where he got all the sidewalks up to where they need to be. So we could have that as one more ongoing expense moving forward. So that would be up to you if you want to put that one back in.
I would, using your logic, which just you presented, I would say that it would go back in the budget.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Don,
I just was interested in hearing what Fern had to say about it more.
Do you want me to talk about my email that I sent to?
let's go with it. You're answering the question first in that regard. Donna, are you inclined to actually have the sidewalks in or out of the fund balance? It's your motion.
We decided that the sidewalks are not a one-time expense, correct?
Potentially could be another, so it should be an operational budget item, yes.
Then I would think yes, it should be part of the motion.
Fern, do you agree for discussion?
Yes.
All right, now there was a question to you from Don. You want to try that one?
Sure. And just to clarify, I mean, my big mistake on the budget typically is we have expenses every year that go up. The school does, we do. I think the school pushed really hard this year to actually make the numbers that we kind of presented earlier. Don came out with some numbers and the council was kind of pretty supportive of those, which are reasonable numbers. And I think even anytime you use funds that are not readily available to balance out a budget, it just makes for a potential concern the following year. We're in a good place this year without a doubt. And I think it's been a lot of hard work from my staff and for everybody to get us where we're at. I just don't like, I have a concern about the idea of actually reducing taxes one year to actually have a big increase the next year. I would rather see more of a steady graph or range from year to year. Last week we had a big discussion in our meeting. And part of it is that expenses of trash is going up and we need to raise more funds and revenues to offset it. It's just hard to come off a discussion like that and then come into this and say, well, we get extra money now, we're lowering taxes. And again, it's the dollar values we're looking at are not drastic. Don't get me wrong. It's not like we have millions of dollars extra. We're talking, at the end of the day, if everything goes good, it may be a, $100,000 to $160,000 of extra fundage, which may drop the mill rate slightly. I think it's just sending a false message that we are actually able to keep our expenses below last year's. Not saying that we're not. I think we're doing a good job. I just hate seeing the fluctuation year to year, and knowing next year is going to be a little bit of a challenge if it's not for the year after. Again, that was my concern in my email earlier. I just like to see us have more of a steady handle on taxes year to year, and not actually the highs and lows that sometimes you see with the idea of doing what we're doing. But again, it's all in perception, right? So I'm definitely willing to go with whatever the council feels best in the management.
I have a brief question, Mr. Chair.
So,
it makes sense to me that if we don't take it out of fund balance now, it is still in fund balance for next year.
correct.
At some point. So that may help even things in the future as well.
That is very true in that regard. What I would to Fern's point, I'm on the mindset to actually get the best value now associated with that. And I believe you guys have done a good job of tempering me throughout this process that what we have is a realistic budget to be able to keep it in play for next year. So that's my offering. Kayla, can you go back up the screen just a little bit, please? Because you're driving this thing. Do me a favor, delete that one, the 10,000 you're on. Delete the 3,000. That one, yep,
And the 3,000.
the 3,000 and the 10,000 for the sidewalks. Diane, that's what we talked about, right?
Right.
What that does to you, go up, Kayla, please. There was a $30,000 figure that Diane highlighted on here that's now 55. So you're seeing that, to Don's point, bringing that up. What I would ask for, go back down again one more time, Kayla. For discussion purposes right now, delete the 375 from there just to show what it looks like. You're going to bring that one back in. I would entertain a motion to bless the fund balance at this point and then discuss the salt shed, in my opinion. Don.
The question you're doing, I mean, just before I make a motion, that we're gonna actually kind of make a motion to agree to this and actually bring a salt shed in after for
Yeah.
discussion.
Then you guys already have a motion on the table, with the things that I've asked to be removed. This is what it would look like right now. Okay? Everybody okay with what you're seeing on the screen, that we're bringing fund balance back to, with all the considerations that Diane has presented to you, level of 430,000 available for future uses? If that is the case, then let's call the roll on this item, please.
Counselor Albert,
Counselor Ward, the
sorry,
motion on the floor is by Don, the Counselor Fellows and Counselor La Rochelle
Correct.
for $15,175 to be removed. You need an amendment to
Nope.
add the other items?
I don't believe so, because Diane told me that the 10,000 on the abatement was coming off. The other things that were removed from that list shouldn't have been on the list to begin with. So this
Oh,
would
so
be
the ones that you're talking about wouldn't be on the list?
correct. This is what Diane was advocating adjusted.
Okay, so Mr. Chair,
Yes.
so I just want to make sure that I understand this, and from a clarity standpoint, everything that you just removed, in theory, before we started this meeting, would have been, should have been, could have been removed, and so that all we did real time was make that change because it didn't happen. Am I hearing that right?
Correct. The only things that actually are being removed that we took action on tonight are the 3 items that Fern and Dawn made the motion on, for the 2 items in PW and fire.
Okay, good. That's exactly how I understood it. Just want to make sure that was right.
And that's
Thank you, Twyla, for the help with that.
Okay, thanks.
Roll call.
Before we vote, I'd like to clarify that are those items are being moved to their respective item lines in the actual budget, correct?
Yes, they will be.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark. Now roll call.
Counselor Albert,
Yes.
Counselor La Rochelle,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Ganong,
Yes.
Counselor Colby,
Yes.
Counselor Fellows.
Yes.
Order passed 7-0.
All right, Kayla, drift back down and put the 375 back in, please. In the council packet that's for the meeting tonight, Randy has given us a recommendation associated with the New Gloucester salt shed. Diane, why don't you bring us up to speed on that for consideration?
So I'm still waiting to hear back from New Gloucester. I talked to them today and they're still waiting to get a decision from their council on how to proceed with this. I don't have an amount yet from them, and I'm just in a holding pattern, and I did tell them how much it's gonna cost us. you know, the 375, and I just wanted to know where they stand with it, if what they want to charge us, if they want to charge us at all. So I'm just kind of waiting to hear what they have to say.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Fern.
this is something that's been kicked around for years and years, right? I mean, we've been actually just waiting for an opportunity, and with the money being available, would it be potentially wise or unwise to actually just say we'll allocate up to 400,000 to actually get this project completed, and if it goes over that, we'll actually just look towards putting new. I just don't think we would go much different than that. Myself, just it is a a dated structure, not dated bad, but just it's not new. Because if we don't, and they do come back with a figure, that's slightly higher than that 375, because they are looking for some type of reimbursement for the property. I mean, I would think that would cover it. I guess we just got to find out where our limit would be if they come back tomorrow with a dollar figure. I'm not sure if being in public doing this changes that at all, but it's just a thought.
No, by all means, the fact that I believe it's prudent to do so. You're living where I was thinking is that probably 400 grand. The one thing that I would advocate for, no matter how this plays out, Diane, I know we're within the charter for not having a referendum because we're not raising it, so we have that opportunity. But what I would counter with is we want to make specific sure that we're within our purchasing capacity for the budget items associated with that. Randy provided us an estimate for somebody to be able to tear that structure down and relocate. Where there's one, there's somebody else for sure. I would say the same thing on site work for concrete is the fact that we want to make sure that we've at least done our due diligence to make sure that we've got adequate quotes, that we're protecting your interest and Randy's interest with this project. Vern, if that a motion in a form, because is that in form of a motion or just discussion right now?
No, I would actually make that motion that we limit it to 400,000, and if we can do it within that and actually get it done and put it behind us, I would make that motion to move forward.
Do we have anybody else that would second that?
I'll second it for discussion.
Thank you. Go, you got a point you want to make, Don?
I just wanted to say now, if we do that with 400,000, you're gonna put it back in the unassigned fund balance and okay it to come out of that. Is that correct?
That's exactly the case, because what I'm focusing on that you can see on the screen, we have 55,000 associated with that. We just increased it by an additional 25. We're back to the 30 associated with that. So we are within our fund balance policy as Diane has presented to make this work.
That sounds good to me with a cap like that, yes.
Okay. Any other discussion on this item, guys? Hearing
I have
none.
just one more question, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
So Diane, back years ago when this salt shed thing came forward, it was part of the reasoning is for the seepage of the salt into the ground and potential contamination of wells. Are we addressing all the concerns with the way we're doing the structure as far as the cement and drainage and protection? I mean, I just want to make sure that we're covering all our bases of why we're actually doing this in the first place.
I believe we are. Randy would confirm that for you, but we did have that discussion.
Anything else? Hearing none, call the roll, please, Lisa.
Counselor Albert,
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Ganong,
Yes.
Counselor Kobe,
Yes.
Counselor Fellows.
Yes.
Order passed 7-0.
And for the record, I hope that this actually flies because it has been a discussion that's been on the list forever and we're closest to be able to have a viable option, and I hope it comes to fruition. That said, Diane, for the budget workshop, are we caught up?
We are.
Woohoo.
We're good. And I'll do these updates late tomorrow and send you out updated sheets so you can see what we did tonight.
Beautiful, thank you.
Then I'll let you know as I make changes before the 22nd of June, because there's still some outstanding items. We still have a vacant position that I might be able to reduce the budget once we fill that. That's in the library. I'm still waiting for my town insurance figures. And then I'm going to be watching the revenue sharing and the excise tax revenue.
Beautiful.
Madam Chair, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Madam Town Manager, did you guys discuss the revenue sharing reduction? And I saw something in your email and I'm not sure what's going on with that. Did
Yes.
you already discuss it?
We already did. They
Okay,
came
never
out
mind.
with new revenue sharing projections on Friday that lowered it down to the 3.75%, which was approved during the biennial budget process. Originally, they had that at the 5%. That's what they posted back in March, but that's not what was approved during the budget. So unless they do another supplemental budget or they enact a law that puts the revenue sharing up to 5%, then it's going to remain at the new figure that I just gave you.
Do you know if there's something pending for that out there?
The only thing I know is it's on the appropriations table at the moment, so
Okay.
we'll see.
Thank you.
Don, to that point again, if it does come in higher, if it comes in after we set our budget, that would close the fund balance and be available for next year's funding as well too. So that hope for the best on that if it does come in at the higher amount, then that would also help future year budget.
Right.
For the benefit of the finance committee, you're welcome to depart, or you can hang out for the rest of the business meeting. It's up to you guys. That said, Diane, we've already done the roll call. I'm going to dispense with good news and public hearings. We have a consent agenda tonight, Lisa.
We do.
I'll take a motion for discussion, please.
So moved.
Need the second.
A second.
Go ahead and read that, Lisa.
Consent agenda items are considered to be routine and will be considered for adoption by one motion with no separate discussion unless council requests an item be removed for immediate discussion. Any councilor wishing to remove an item now may do so. Seeing none, order 2021-107, approve the municipal accounts payable warrants for $467,244.70 and school payroll warrants for $794,517.96.
Any other discussion? Roll call if not.
Councilor Albert,
Yes.
Councilor LaRochelle,
Yes.
Councilor Ward,
Yes.
Councilor Lunt,
Yes.
Councilor Ganong,
Yes.
Councilor Kobe,
Yes.
Councilor Fellows.
Yes.
Order passed 7-0.
Next item.
Order 2021-108, adopt 2021-2022 school budget warrant articles.
Rick and or Tracy, is there anything that changes from the content that went out on Friday for the articles that we have before us?
No, there was nothing.
Okay. Twyla, when we did this last year, did we have you read the article and then make the motion from there? Is that how we proceeded with that?
Yes, I would have Lisa read the article, then take a first and a second and roll call.
Thank you. Go ahead. Article 1, Lisa.
Article 1, public funding of pre-kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act. To see what sum the council will authorize the Lisbon School Department to appropriate for the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act. Recommended $14,150,490, and to see what sum the council will raise as the town's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act. in accordance with the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 20A, Section 15688. Explanation. The town's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act is the amount of money determined by state law to be the minimum amount that a municipality must raise in order to receive the full amount of state dollars. School committee recommends $4,000,627. School committee recommends $4,627,820.
I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion?
And that emotion is for 4,627,820, correct, Fern? I didn't hear it.
Yes.
I need a second for that motion.
Second.
Any
Mr.
discussion?
Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, is it possible to put into the record, and not that it makes a big difference, that that was also a recommendation of the Finance Committee? I mean, I'm not sure if that's a proper place to set it in, but.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Let's do Article 1 and then put that motion in there, and then at least it's memorialized, because we do have a motion on the table.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Counselor Albert,
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Ganong,
Yes.
Counselor Colby,
Yes.
Counselor Fellows.
yes,
Order passed 7-0.
I heard a motion from Counselor LaRochelle to accept the Finance Committee's school budget recommendation as presented. I need a second, please.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Albert,
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Ganong,
Yes.
Counselor Colby,
Yes.
Counselor Fellows.
yes,
Order passed 7-0.
Article 2.
Article 2, Debt Services. To see what sum the council will authorize the Lisbon School Department to raise and appropriate for the annual payments on debt service previously approved by the legislative body for non-state funded school construction projects or non-state funded portions of school construction projects, in addition to the funds appropriated as a local share of the school administrative unit's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12. Explanation. Non-state funded debt service is the amount of money needed for the annual payments on the municipality district long-term debt for major capital school construction projects and minor capital renovation projects that is not approved for state subsidy. The bonding of this long-term debt was previously approved by the voters or other legislative body. Amount recommended, $446,833.
I need a motion
I'll make the motion.
for 446,833.
Yes.
I need a second.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Albert,
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Ganong,
Yes.
Counselor Colby,
Yes.
Counselor Fellows.
yes,
Order passed 7-0.
Article 3.
Article 3, funds exceeding the state's EPS allocation model. Shall the town of Lisbon raise and appropriate $2,693,517 in additional local funds, which exceeds the state's essential programs and services allocation model by an additional $189,147 as required to fund the budget recommended by the school committee. The school committee recommends $2,693,517 for additional local funds and gives the following reasons for exceeding the state's essential programs and services funding model by an additional $189,147. This covers 1, co-curricular and extracurricular activities. The state only supports 20% of Lisbon's total expenditures. 2, the teacher retirement portion that was previously paid by the state. 3, substitute pay. The state allocates half a day per student. This does not cover long-term absences where substitutes are paid at a higher rate. 4, special education. This additional amount is partly due to year-old student information, summer school scheduling, and reduced financial support at the federal and state levels. 5, nutrition, lunch. The state does not provide any subsidy to cover their expenses in the general budget. Explanation: the additional local funds are those locally raised funds over and above the school administrative unit's local contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, and local amounts raised for the annual payment on non-state funded debt service that will help achieve the Lisbon School Department's budget for education programs. School committee recommends $2,693,517.
I need a motion.
Make that motion.
I heard, I think Norm and then Don, that a motion is for 2,693,517, correct?
Right.
Correct.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Albert,
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Ganong,
Yes.
Counselor Kobe,
Yes.
Counselor Fellows.
Yes.
Order passed 7-0.
Article 4.
Article 4, expend for fiscal year 2021-2022 to see what sum the council will authorize the Lisbon School Committee to expend for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2022 from the town's contribution to the total cost of funding public education and pre-kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, non-state funded schools construction projects, additional local funds for school purposes under the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 28, Section 15690, unexpected balances, tuition receipts, state subsidy, and other receipts for the sport of school. School committee recommends $18,086,259.
Entertain a motion for discussion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
That time I heard Don, then Norm, for 18,086,259, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Any other discussion? All in favor? I'm sorry, roll call. I had to
Counselor
pronounce-
Albert,
I caught myself.
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Ganong,
Yes.
Counselor Kobe,
Yes.
Counselor Fellows.
Yes.
Order pass 7-0.
Article 5.
Article 5, adult education and raised funds as a local share to see if the council will authorize the Lisbon School Department to appropriate $33,618 for adult education and raise $22,406 as a local share, with authorization to expend any additional incidental or miscellaneous receipts in the interest and for the well-being of the adult education program. School recommends yes.
I'd entertain a motion, yes, from the council. Who wants that one?
I'll make a motion.
I'll make the motion. Oh, God.
I heard Jeff, and then I'll second that. How's that?
Okay.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Albert,
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Ganong,
Yes.
Counselor Kobe,
Yes.
Counselor Fellows.
Yes.
Order passed 7-0.
Article 6.
Article 6, adult education, to see what sum the council will authorize the Lisbon School Department to expend for adult education. School committee recommends $33,618.
Entertain the motion for discussion for 33,618, please.
Make the motion.
Second.
I heard Mark that time. Sorry, Norm.
That's fine.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Albert,
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Ganong,
Yes.
Counselor Kobe,
Yes.
Counselor Fellows.
yes,
Order passed 7-0.
Article 7.
Article 7, federal and state grants or programs. In addition to amounts approved in the preceding articles, shall the council authorize the school committee to expend sums as may be received from federal or state grants or programs or other sources during the fiscal year for school purposes, provided that such grants, programs, or other sources do not require the expenditure of other funds not previously appropriated. School committee recommends yes.
I'd entertain a motion, yes. That's coming from Cassie. We'll get her involved.
Second,
What?
You made the motion.
Oh, okay.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Albert,
yes.
Counselor Larochelle,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Ganong,
Yes.
Counselor Kobe,
Yes.
Counselor Fellows.
yes.
Order passed 7-0.
Next order of business, before we move on, Twyla and or Lisa, why don't you just highlight us what's the, on the date when absentee ballots are available and when somebody can come in to vote prior?
Yes, absentee ballots are available tomorrow morning, and we'll have booths set up, and we'll have our totem pole with the recommendations that the school committee has their cost centers all figured out and your amount. So tomorrow you can call and get your absentee mail to you if you like. You can go, well, you can come in here or call us. I think you can't use the online system because they use that for a state election only. So when you used to be able to go onto the absentee site at the state of Maine and order an absentee ballot, but you can't do that for this June election. Okay, and polling hours are 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Lisbon High School Gymnasium on June 8th.
Thank you much. Anything else on that item, guys? Seeing none, next order of business.
Order 2021-109 salt shed.
Covered previously, that's acceptable for what we need for this purpose, or do you need an official vote where it's there, Diane?
I think you should vote out in this regular meeting and not in the workshop. So if you want to do your vote over again.
Okay. I would make the motion that we actually allocate up to 400,000 for the relocation and purchase of the salt shed from New Gloucester from fund balance funds.
And I'll second it.
You have the second. Any other discussion on that item? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Albert,
Yes.
Counselor Larochelle,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Ganong,
Yes.
Counselor Kobe,
Yes.
Counselor Fellows.
Yes,
Order passed 7-0.
Next order, Lisa.
Order 2021-110 salt bid.
So each year we're invited into the state of Maine's process. Typically, they don't go out to bid until after AvCog, but for some reason this year they got their bid in before AvCog has even started their bidding process. And as it stands right now, the bid that came in through the state of Maine is less than what we're paying through AvCog. We don't know when they're going to go out to bid. We talked to them last week. So Randy and I both felt where it's less than what we're paying currently, that we ought to go with the state bid because we're not sure what we would be getting from AvCog when they go out to bid. So that would be our motion.
So,
Excuse me.
second for discussion, please. I need the second. I
second.
got my second from Don. Yes, Vern.
Actually, yeah, I mean, anything we can buy right now cheaper than we could last year is kind of a rarity. Just a question, did we actually use most of our sand from last year? I mean, did what we allocated last year was kind of a soft year, but I'm not sure. Do we have any in reserve, I guess? Would we be looking to purchase the same amount?
We'll be looking to purchase the same amount because we don't know what we're going to get for a winter, obviously. But we put in the same amount every year and we have to at least use 75% of it. And that's the same way with the AvCog bid. They both do the identical type of bid. And then if you use more than 125%, then you have to pay the going rate.
Of course, it was more, it's on that level, but the idea, if we had some reserve, do we have the capability of pulling in 75% now and actually warehousing it, or?
If we get
Or
the
is that
new,
something-
if we get the new salt shed, we can. But as
We
it
do-
stands right now, without the new salt shed, we just buy it as we need it because we can't fit that much in there.
We do have the ability to just take it as needed then.
As needed, yes.
All right, thank you.
It looks to me like we have quite a bit of reserve now, if you look at the facility we have.
And it's Eastern Salt, whether you buy it from AvCog or you buy it from the state of Maine. So it's not like you're swapping a vendor. We've had issues for delivery in the past, but that was mostly on our end for what we can store. So that said, I'm not anticipating any issues with the supplier either.
But I think with the state, it's Morton salt. Is that different than Eastern? Because that's what the state bid said. It said Morton at the top.
But they're still a big player in that regard.
Okay,
And then it bounces between Eastern and Morton. So I don't, in this area,
Yeah.
there's only so many that sell that commodity anyway.
right.
Any other discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Counselor Albert,
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Lund,
Yes.
Counselor Ganong,
Yes.
Counselor Colby,
Yes.
Counselor Fellows.
Yes,
Order passed 7-0.
In lieu of council reports, unless somebody has something specific, like Dawn, who attended the water commissioners tonight, I'm going to dispense where we did it last week and we'll be bringing it up next week. Dawn, do you have anything specifically?
well, tonight's meeting was kind of a bust because it was taken over largely by a resident complaining about his dirty water, which was a productive discussion, but everything else was still on hold when I left. However, I didn't get anything from the last meeting that I didn't attend, and what I've learned from that is they have had interviews for a new superintendent or department manager. And however, they have not made any decisions, nor have they completed interviews yet.
Diane, do you have anything that hasn't already been presented or will be presenting this week? No?
Who'd
Diane,
you ask?
you, Diane.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
I know
So-
I got the vacant look. I knew I wasn't.
No, I didn't know who you were talking to. So right now, tentatively, we're working on scheduling fireworks for July 3rd at 9 p.m. So we're working with Central Maine Pyrotechnics on that. I just wanted to give you an update on that. And then I just want to let everybody know that since we switched to Burgess Technology, everything really is going smoothly with them. We like the technician that comes on site and they're very attentive and answer our questions immediately, or they dial in and take care of any problems that we have. It's really nice to work with somebody local.
And professional? Sounds like they.
Very, very professional. Everybody's
Good.
happy with them. They're telling me we made the great choice. So that's all I have tonight.
Is there, back to the agenda, Lisa, is there an appointment for the LDC or is that last?
There is order number 2021-111, LDC member, 3-year term, Mary Will.
I need a motion if somebody can vouch for Miss Will.
I'll make the motion.
I need the second.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Thank you for volunteering, Mary Will. Roll call, please.
Counselor Albert,
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Lund,
Yes.
Counselor Ganong,
Yes.
Counselor Colby,
Yes.
Counselor Fellows.
Yes,
Order passed 7-0.
That leaves us at council or communications. Anybody else got anything that hasn't already been brought up? Hearing none. I don't have anything for audience participation. We don't have an executive summary and a session, I mean, and I would take a motion to adjourn
Before you forget, when is our next meeting?
next week, right? Or where, Twyla?
18th.
Right, regular meeting, regular
That's right,
meeting
okay.
in person next week, Don.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Roll call, or all out?
Counselor,
Yes.
Counselor LaRochelle? Did you leave already? Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Okay, yep. Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Ganong, Counselor Kobe,
Yes.
Counselor Fellows.
This time I'll vote yes.
Order passed 7-0.
Your next meeting is at 7 PM on Tuesday.
Good night, all.
Thank you.
See you
Good
then.
night.
Take care. Have a good night.